All right, let's get right into this. We're going to talk about a really fascinating story from the early days of one of India's greatest industrialists, Dhirubhai Ambani. Now, on the surface, it sounds like a total contradiction, but trust me, it reveals a powerful truth about what it really means to work hard.
So, get this. Here's the puzzle. Imagine you're just starting out making only 300 rupees a month. I mean, that is next to nothing. And yet you've got this one habit that seems completely, ridiculously expensive. How does that even work? And, the bigger question is, why on earth would you do that?
You see, this whole story, it's not really about the tea at all. It's about a mindset, a way of thinking that he developed right at the very beginning of his journey. And we're not even in India for this part of the story. We're in Yemen. This is where a young Dhirubhai Ambani landed his first job, working at a petrol pump. Talk about humble beginnings, right? He's far from home in a world that's completely different from the one he would eventually build for himself. Okay, so his salary was just 300 rupees a month. Just let that sink in for a moment. This wasn't just a tight budget. This was a count every single rupee kind of situation. So when he starts spending a good chunk of that on something that looks totally unnecessary, well, that's not just a small luxury. It's a huge financial gamble. But here's what he did. Even with that tiny salary, he had this weekly ritual. He'd go to this fancy, grand hotel nearby, a place he absolutely couldn't afford to be in, and he'd order a single cup of tea. Now, this one cup of tea cost a big chunk of his income. To anyone watching, especially his friends, it just looked like he was throwing his money away.
So, what was really going on? What was the actual reason for this habit? Well, it turns out it was about something way, way more valuable than just a hot drink.
Of course, his friends were completely baffled. One of them finally came up to him and asked the question that we're all thinking. Dhirubhai, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your hard-earned cash on this? And his answer, well, it changes the entire story.
And there it is. That one sentence explains everything. He wasn't paying for the tea. He was paying for a front row seat. He was basically buying entry into a classroom without walls, a place where he could just soak up how the city's most successful people talked, how they thought, how they put deals together.
So you see what he did? He completely reframed the idea of cost. For him, the price of that tea wasn't an expense, it was tuition. He understood a principle that builds literally every great fortune. The best return on investment you will ever get is the investment you make in yourself, in your own knowledge.
And this one little story, it really forces you to stop and think about what hard work even means. Because it's not always about sweating and grinding.
This really highlights a key difference. On one hand, you have physical labor, the effort of doing things, putting in the hours. That's what we usually think of as hard work. But Ambani's work in that hotel, that was purely strategic effort. It was the hard work of thinking, of observing, of learning from the right people.
So this strategic mindset is really built on three things. First, thinking big. He wasn't focused on his 300 rupee reality. He was tuning into the conversations about millions happening all around him. Second, having a vision. He saw that hotel not as a place to spend money, but as a stepping stone to where he wanted to go. And finally, just a relentless desire to learn, knowing that the most valuable thing in any room is the information you don't have yet.
It all boils down to a really simple, powerful process that anyone can use. Step 1, go where the knowledge is. Put yourself in the right room. Step 2, shut up and just listen. Absorb everything. And step 3, figure out how the experts think, and then make it your own. It's a simple loop, but it's incredibly effective. So, what was the end result of all this strategic thinking? What did that expensive tea actually buy him? Well, the payoff was, it was almost unimaginable. And it all traces back to those days in that hotel in Yemen. So the return on that investment, those weekly cups of tea, they ended up paying for the foundation of the entire Reliance empire. The ideas he overheard, the mindset he adopted in that lobby, that became the blueprint for one of the biggest companies in the world. Okay, so let's wrap this up with 3 big takeaways. Number 1, the best money you'll ever spend is on yourself, period. Number 2, the best classrooms don't have 4 walls. Opportunities to learn are absolutely everywhere if you just look for them. And number 3, success isn't just about muscle. It's about your mindset. It's about the quality of your thinking, not just the hours you put in. And that brings us to the final question.
And this one's for you to really think about. What is your expensive tea? What are you investing in? Your time, your money, your energy, not for a quick reward today, but for the knowledge and the perspective that's going to build your future.